Chapter 1: The Gray Man's Origin. The relentless neon glow of New Shanghai pierced through the grimy window, casting an eerie kaleidoscope of colors across Zeke's sparse apartment. He lay motionless on his worn synth-leather bed, a living shadow among the flickering holograms that danced on his walls. The acrid smell of synthetic tobacco hung in the air, mingling with the ever-present stench of the megacity beyond. "Merry Christmas," he says to himself. Zeke exhaled slowly, watching the smoke curl and dissipate in the ambient light. His augmented eyes, a dull silver in the gloom, focused on nothing in particular. Just another night in the life of a nobody, a gray man in a technicolor world. As he lay there, memories of his past began to surface, unbidden and unwelcome. Zeke closed his eyes, but the images only became more vivid, transporting him back to a time he'd tried so hard to forget. The Birthing Corporation loomed over the slums of old Shanghai, a sterile white monolith amidst the decay. Inside its walls, Zeke had come into the world, not born, but manufactured. He was just another product, stamped with a barcode and embedded with a chip that marked him as property, destined for a life of drudgery in the corporation's factories. Young Zeke, then known only by his designation ZK2719, grew up in the shadow of that monolith. His earliest memories were of cramped dormitories, bland nutrient paste, and endless hours of mind-numbing education modules designed to create the perfect, obedient worker. "Remember, children," the AI instructor's voice echoed in his mind. "Your purpose is to serve. Your chip is your identity, your link to society. Without it, you are nothing." But even as a child, Zeke knew he wanted more. He would watch the glittering skyscrapers of New Shanghai in the distance, wondering what life was like beyond the slums and factories. As he grew older, the corporation put him to work in one of their chip fabrication plants. Day after day, he toiled under harsh lights, assembling the very devices that kept him and his fellow workers enslaved. The irony wasn't lost on him, but what could he do? The chip in his arm ensured his compliance, tracking his movements and regulating his body chemistry to keep him docile. It was after one of these grueling shifts, as Zeke trudged back to his dormitory, that fate intervened. He heard a commotion down a dark alley, shouting, the sound of breaking glass, and then running footsteps. Curiosity overcame caution, and he peered around the corner. Two figures in black clothes and masks were sprinting away from a small shop, its windows shattered. As they passed, one of them stumbled, dropping something that clattered across the cracked pavement. Without thinking, Zeke scooped it up and quickly pocketed it before ducking back into the shadows. Back in the relative safety of his tiny room, Zeke examined his find. It was a chip, similar to the one embedded in his own arm, but blank, unprogrammed. His heart raced as he realized the implications. This could be his ticket to freedom. For days, Zeke agonized over what to do. The risks were enormous. If you were caught tampering with his chip, the punishment would be severe, possibly fatal. But the thought of spending the rest of his life as a corporate slave was unbearable. Finally, he made his decision. Late one night, when his roommates were deep in their chip-induced sleep, Zeke took out the contraband chip and a sharp piece of metal he'd smuggled from the factory. Gritting his teeth against the pain, he cut into his own arm, fingers slick with blood as he pried out the corporate chip and replaced it with the blank one. The memory of how he got the blank trip flashed before his eyes. He had stumbled upon a crime in progress, a small shop being raided by masked figures. As they fled, one of them dropped the chip, which Zeke picked up and kept hidden, knowing it might be his only chance at freedom. The pain was excruciating, but Zeke managed to bandage the wound without waking anyone. As he lay there, heart pounding, waiting for alarms to sound or guards to burst in, he realized that for the first time in his life, he was truly free. The feeling was intoxicating, a mix of fear and exhilaration. His mind raced with possibilities, but he knew he couldn't stay. He had to leave the dormitory, find a way to survive on his own terms. The thought of it filled him with a determination he had never felt before. The next few weeks were a blur of fear and exhilaration. Zeke learned to navigate the world outside the corporation's control, scrounging for food and shelter, always looking over his shoulder. The city was a labyrinth of neon lights and shadows, each corner hiding potential danger or opportunity. Zeke quickly realized he wasn't the only one living on the fringes. He fell in with a gang of street kids, each with their own tragic story and survival skills. They taught him the arts of pickpocketing and petty theft, crucial skills to stay alive in a world that didn't care about his existence. It was during this time that Zeke met Koji, a tech-savvy runaway who would become his closest friend and partner in crime. Koji was unlike anyone Zeke had ever met. With a sharp mind and an even sharper tongue, Koji navigated the underbelly of New Shanghai with ease, always a step ahead of the authorities. They bonded over their shared disdain for the corporate overlords and a desire to carve out their own destinies. Koji took one look at Zeke's crudely implanted chip and let out a low whistle. He took a quick motion and pulled out his portable scanner and examined the chip closely. "You really did this yourself?" Koji asked, admiration and concern mixing in his tone. Zeke nodded, feeling a rare moment of pride. "Not bad for a first-timer," Koji said, "but it's a miracle you didn't fry your brain." Koji smiled. "Damn, you've got guts. But if you're going to survive out here, you need an edge. Let me upgrade that for you." Over the next few months, the two boys became inseparable. Their partnership was built on a foundation of mutual respect and shared goals. Koji showed Zeke the ins and outs of hacking, teaching him to slip into the city's network undetected and siphon off credits and data streams. They spent long nights in abandoned buildings, hunched over flickering screens, their faces illuminated by the glow of code and data streams. In return, Zeke shared his knowledge of the streets, showing Koji how to move unseen and strike when least expected. Zeke's street smarts complemented Koji's technical prowess perfectly, making them a formidable team. Together, they dreamed of a future where they could bring down the corporate giants that oppressed them and others like them. Over the years, Koji became Zeke's lifeline to the underground tech. Together, they graduated from petty crime to more lucrative endeavors. Zeke's first augmentations, enhanced reflexes, reinforced bones, subdermal armor, were paid for with blood money from his early days as a hired gun. Back in the present, Zeke's eyes snapped open, the memories fading like the smoke from his cigarette. He sat up, rubbing his face with calloused hands. The clock on his retinal display showed it was just past midnight. Another sleepless night in New Shanghai. I could hear the city in the distance, celebrating the joyful holiday. There was nothing joyful about this day. Zeke never done anything on Christmas. He never had any family to do anything with. His whole life was look at others enjoyed today, while he was alone.